Welcome to another installment of Mattia's Calculus Tutorials. Today we're going to talk about another application of integrals. So let's say you have two curves, and instead of finding the area between one curve and the x-axis, you want to find the area between the two curves. So for example, f of x and g of x. And what you want to find is this area. Now you may remember things like the distance formula, the midpoint formula, but really that has no application here. It's very simple. It's just the integral of the top function minus the integral of the bottom function. So the integral from your endpoints from a to b of the top function, which is f of x, with respect to x, minus the integral of the bottom function from a to b of g of x with respect to x. Now the ideology behind this comes from basic integrals. You have your top function, your f of x, and then you have the bottom function, g of x. And when you take the integrals, you find their respective areas with regard to the x-axis. And then when you subtract the top function minus the bottom function, you get an area that looks somewhat like this, which is equal to that. Now let's say the functions switch places and one function does not remain on top the entire way. So f of x and g of x, and they meet at points a, b, and c. So the formula still applies, top minus bottom. So from a to b, f of x is on top. So the integral from a to b of f of x dx minus the integral from a to b of g of x dx. And then you add that to the second half of the integral. In this case, f of x is on bottom. So it's the integral from a to b of g of x dx minus the integral from a to b of f of x dx. Now that you've got this out of the way, you can place a check in your notebook as you can finally take the area of the smile you'll make when you get an A on that next test.